as Kegels. Who are you?
I'm Matthias. I'm originally from Belgium in Belgium, but I now have been living here in Maastricht for almost 3 years, and I work for an organization called ECDPM, where I'm working as a policy researcher.
Okay. So first of all, what is the difference between Belgium and the Dutch working culture?
I think one of the biggest differences that I feel is that uh, the relationships between colleagues in the Netherlands tend to be a bit less formal and less hierarchical compared to Belgium. For example, I have a very close and informal way of interacting with my direct bosses. They For me it's very more easy, I think, to, for example, express my opinion towards him, even if I disagree with his decisions or his views on certain matters. He will also consult me very often, ask for my opinion. So I think overall within the Dutch working culture, I think there is more openness towards, especially the junior staff, to also get involved in decision making, etc. I think that's a big difference. Yeah.
How do you deal with your colleagues?
We are a very international organization with people from across Europe, not only Dutch people or even Belgian, but people from Scandinavia, from Spain, from France, from the UK, etc. Because of that, there's also a lot of young people who work here, who come to Maastricht, start working here, but without really knowing anybody here, or understanding the Dutch culture, for example. And because of that, we really tend to rely a lot on each other, helping each other around, also with not only work-related matters, but also helping to find housing, supporting each other with really settling here.
So you're actually kind of all the same. You're all outsiders who come here,
Yeah,
and then as a group you try to live here to adapt.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Was it hard to adapt to the Dutch culture?
So yes and no. Compared to my colleagues, I of course have the big advantage that I speak the language. So that does mean that for me it's much easier also to understand how things work here, to interact with local people. But in general, it is not always so easy to really integrate in the local community here. Yeah, because you come here of course, as an outsider, and that sometimes makes it really difficult to really become part of this local life here.
And why is it more difficult to adapt to the local people, so their behavior, or what they are doing, daily doing? So
I think it's does not necessarily have to do with how the local people are. I think in general, actually, they are quite open to foreigners or newcomers. But sometimes it is just difficult to, yeah, sort of. I mean, all the people who live here, of course, have their lives established. They have their own families and friends living here, and then sometimes it is, well, not so easy to really become a part of that as an outsider. Also because for me this is not a long-term thing, because I'm also not sure how long I in the end I will stay here. When I came here, I thought I was only gonna stay here for 1 year. That already turns out to be almost 3 years, and that also means that you have different expectations in terms of how you see yourself as part of the local community.
about the expectations, what do you mean with that precisely?
If you only come here with the ambition to stay on a rather short term, then you probably are gonna invest less energy in becoming part of the local community, in for example, I don't know, reading local newspapers, for example, or attending local events, yeah, that kind of stuff. And you don't come here with the goal of really integrating here.
Does your own behavior change after some time? After, for example, you're working now almost 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So is it has your behavior changed already, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think one of the things that is quite different between both in work environment, but also in outside of that, is that, of course, the Dutch people tend to be much more direct in how they interact with people, much more honest and frank. They are, I think we Belgians are a bit more diplomatic. We don't like to offend people. And in the beginning, it was actually quite hard to adapt to that. This direct style of the Dutch. But I mean, sometimes if the first times when you're not used to that yet, you sometimes feel a bit offended in how they.
Belgians are more shy.
Yeah, exactly. But I have come to notice that I have also adapted quite a bit in that, and I have become also much more, or much less shy, much more direct in the way I express myself, especially professionally.
Okay. How is the standard of living in the Netherlands?
I think overall it's pretty much comparable to Belgium. Maybe, I mean, Maastricht is, of course, a rather small city compared to where I have lived before in Ghent or in Brussels. Or Maastricht is much smaller. But in general, it has a lot to offer. First of all, it's a very safe city. I've never felt unsafe whatsoever here. There is also, I mean, it's a very beautiful city. If you walk around, everything is nice. The streets are in good condition, so everything is very well maintained. Living here is probably a bit more expensive compared to Belgium. For example, housing is actually quite a problem here in Maastricht. It is quite because it's very expensive, and it's there's a lot of there's a big university here in Maastricht, and because of that, it attracts a lot of foreign students, researchers, like PhD researchers, who come here usually also for rather long, short-term periods. That means that there is constantly a very high demand for housing, whereas the offer is not so big. One thing also regards to standard of living is that healthcare is also a bit more, actually much more expensive compared to Belgium, and the services are not that good compared to our country. So that is why I actually I now use my Dutch health insurance to have services in Belgium, because the quality is better there.
Okay. And last but not least, do you have any hints, tips for people who want to move to another country, so not especially Netherlands, but in general?
Maybe 2 or 3 things. First of all, I think it's actually quite a rich experience to live in another country, getting to know different cultures, meeting new people, etc. So I think in general, if people have an opportunity to, even if it's just for a short-term move to another country, to study, for example, with an exchange program, I think people should do that. I think it's, of course, it depends on your own interests, but in general, I think it's always, you learn a lot from that. So in general, I would just encourage people to have such an experience. However, if you move to another country for the longer term, then I would say that you probably shouldn't make that decision too easily. Even just moving to the Netherlands can sometimes be quite complicated.
It's it's quite tiring or demanding. So
Yeah,
it's hard for long term to go to another country
exactly.
if you don't adapt or don't inform.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's two things there. First of all, there's a lot of administration involved in moving to another country, and I think before making that decision, I think you probably should inform yourself very well about what the implications are, in terms of your social rights, in terms of, for example, I mentioned the pension schemes earlier. Working in different countries has a big impact on how you build up your pension rights. There's all these things that seem maybe rather trivial, and you, especially if you're my age, you might not always think about that, but it's good to be well informed. Another thing is that if you really you're moving to another country for really long term and you really want to settle there, then I think it's always useful to maybe try to get out of the expat bubble, but try to interact with local people. Maybe see where you can get involved in a local social organization or like a sports team or so.
So from becoming an outsider.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time and for sharing your experience.
Yeah, you're welcome.